Welcome, everybody. It's time once again for the next chapter with Charlie Hedges, as he explores turning the page on his life and yours.
Hi there. Welcome, everybody, to the next chapter with Charlie. My special guest today, looking like he's sitting right here beside me, is Bill Henrich, a 30-year veteran of exploring the purpose of life and how fresh insight can change the way you live. Bill writes this: 30 years ago, I walked away from my life because I was so miserable. And I was committed to find the source of my misery and create a new life. Today, the journey continues as I expand my consciousness. So let's bring on Bill and find out what he's talking about. Bill Henrich, welcome to the next chapter with Charlie.
Thank you, Charlie. Pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me.
You know what I want to do, because I'm going to forget it. We were just in conversation. So this is an off-the-wall start. And so, but that's good.
Perfect.
The conversation before the show, we were talking about genius and purpose. And my friend Taryn Foguet talks about everybody has a genius. They just don't know what it is. And she goes through she has a genius lab that goes through a whole thing how people identify their genius and you know, very, very much in detail, not at a high level, very much in detail. And you said that's right in correlation with what you said. And you said your genius is called a purpose.
Your purpose, yeah.
I love that. Tell me what you mean by that.
Well, it's your dharma. The genius is actually, another word for genius would be uniqueness.
Okay.
It's a very refined specialty.
Yes, beautiful.
That's unique to an individual. And the challenge that we have, and the thing when I work with people, I do the same thing, is it isn't about them understanding their genius as much as it is them understanding what's blocking them from it. It's far easier to peel away the things that are blocking them from it, and that will take them right to their genius. You don't have the capacity. It's even yourself in talking about it. You're like, oh, this is fascinating. Like, this is so different, but it isn't. It's you. You have a genius. You have a uniqueness that only you have. No one else in the universe has it. End of conversation. And so it's just an understanding of what keeps you from that. It's much easier to go at it that way than it is to try and come from the high side, so to speak, right? It's much easier to come from the physical side of the things that you do that keep you from it, the misunderstandings you have about your life. And these are the things that cause the interruptions, disruptions, upset, concern, needless worry, stress, overwhelm, frustration, so on, confusion, blah, 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 blah. That's what creates it.
So that explains. You just explained to me one of my questions as I was reading through your information, that you said each of the two reasons each of us were born. One is that we were born, and the second
two best
is
days
why.
of your life: the day you were born and the day you find out why.
Yeah. And then I was wondering, is why you were born, is that a generic purpose or personal? And you said it's very personal. It's very
Extremely.
It's not generic. It's
generic in the sense that the ingredients of it are all the same ingredients that we all have. But the combination of those ingredients is what makes it the uniqueness.
Right. And that was the first thing that occurred to me. It is that, it's sort of a laundry list.
Yeah.
A super huge laundry list of skills and talents and that we have
blocking you. because what you're referring to is everything that's in the physical. So here's where this is. Pay attention, because this is the way it is. Okay,
This is the way it is. Okay.
it is.
Good.
It's guaranteed, right? There's two of us. There's two of every one of us. There's the physical us and the non-physical. The non-physical us is the energetic us. The non-physical you is what you breathe. It's your energy. This is what runs your life. The physical you is the manifestation of that energy. So when people look in the mirror, they aren't really seeing themselves. What they're really just seeing is a physical manifestation of their energy in the moment. And the day you die, it's the energy that leaves, not the physical. The physical piece stays here. So, this is the difference between the human being and the human doing. Everybody gets into doing, where when you're being, it's who you're being. So your purpose, your genius isn't what you do. It's the energy you do it with.
It's almost as if, as you're describing the material and the immaterial, the physical and the energetic, or what else did you call that?
Non-physical, physical,
The
non-physical.
non-physical. It's almost as if the physical is a servant of the non-physical. The physical is serving the needs of the non-physical.
Yeah. No, it's
No.
getting in the way of the needs. It's getting in the way.
It cannot serve?
No, because it works in limitation. The non-physical is about organic expansion, growth, nothing inhibited, and it's all about love. The physical is all about limitation and fear.
There is nothing positive to the physical?
The only thing that can be positive in the physical would be the unattached, energetic manifestation coming from within. But even that will not be received that way, because everybody works with judgment, blame, shame, and guilt, and all the crap that goes on in the physical that doesn't serve us. It inhibits us, because it's all about measurement. When you go to the non-physical, there's no such thing as measurement. There's only infinity, right? So if we do a meditation, we can go do a meditation and we can go to as much expansion as we want. We just go there. We can be there in minutes. And you can go there, but you go there energetically, But when you come back to the physical, the first thing people say is how. And just put a gun to your head and pull the trigger when you say how, because that's the limitation, rather than allowing energetically things to occur. When you're working
that's a really helpful verb, is allowing. It's already there, so it's sort of giving permission for the energy to take over.
It's not even giving permission. It's allowing yourself to go to a state of feeling,
okay,
to your capacity, because you always work. We all have limited capacity, but it's being able to feel the energetic vibration of how it will be when you're there, right? So in the physical, you can't allow, because everything in the physical is always in limitation and always working against. It's the nature of physical. It's just physical nature. But in the manifestation, it's, what people do is like the law of attraction, for instance, okay? Really, it's a joke. I mean, it's interesting, but it's really a joke because why would we have the law? You don't need the law of attraction. You just go manifest, right? And when you get into the law of attraction, what you're doing is picking something in the physical. And the minute you pick something in the physical, you put yourself in a state of limitation. So what you have to do is get an energetic representation of that which you're manifesting, because you'll feel it when you're there. It isn't.
So have you done any study or any looks at all in the in mysticism, in the late medieval Christian mysticism, or it doesn't have to be Christian, but late medieval Christian or late medieval mystics? Because the language you're speaking is very similar to what they were writing about in the 14 and 1500s.
Everything you were talking about, the woman about our genius, it's all the same. Like the minute you step into the non-physical and any expansion or wisdom about the non-physical, it all resonates at the same vibration. It has to be the same. See, there's no limitation in it. There's only truth. There's only truth.
And now that is a question. If you're going to bring up truth in this, so now that's a question. You know what I'm going to ask? I'm going to ask Pilate's question. What is truth?
Well, the only way that one can measure truth is through vibration. Okay. So the only thing in your life that's true is how you feel. You can't have a feeling without a story. It's not possible. Emotions are created by stories.
Okay.
So you have stories inside you that create feelings. Those feelings are your vibration.
Can you name some feelings so you're not talking just about happiness and sadness and joy?
Well, okay. Really, ultimately there's only two feelings.
Huh.
That's love and fear. Everything stems from those. Fear is in the physical, love is in the non-physical.
It's really that. That's brilliant. I like that a lot.
It's
I like that
simple.
really a lot. Boils it down to, it really is. And the mystics have helped this, but it's always been a part of my life. I call myself, religious wise, I'm a mystic. I live in that world that really resonates with what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
But I too believe strongly in feelings. I put them in the language of left brain and right brain. And so, I've done lectures and talks on left and right brain.
Yeah, but the problem with that, okay, is when you're dealing with the brain, you're not dealing with the capacity to come to the present moment.
Yeah, but just understand the brain is, the way I'm speaking about it, is very metaphoric. And so, it just represents ways of, a way of thinking versus a way of being. And,
and the moment you're thinking, you're in the past. When you're being, you can be in the present. But you cannot think and be in the present. It's not possible.
So rarely are you in the present then?
When you're attached to something, that's correct. If you're detached, if you're able to step freely, like right now I'm just stepping freely into your space and just going with whatever's coming up, and just sharing whatever truth comes up around whatever questions you ask, right? These aren't beliefs. This is just pure truth. It's very, very simple, pure truth. So as one looks at it, well, Through trust. I trust. I know
And
it's not. I know it's not me,
yeah. Now,
and I know.
do you endorse or work with any kind of divine or other being or other state?
Now, I can do trance channeling, but those are like parlor games. I mean, there's not much value to them because
Trans channeling?
that's allowing an entity to come in and speak through me. But they're parlor games. It's of no value. The value that I bring is helping a person see energetically what that uniqueness or genius is, which is your purpose. Like I've just created a new course called the Peak Potential Blueprint.
Mm-hmm.
And I've done this for the skeptics. I love
Mm-hmm.
skeptics, by the way. I've run out. I'm always looking for them. They're all fans now. The minute they start working with me, they go, "Ooh, this is like their lives change," and it's just undeniable what happens.
Mm-hmm.
But your potential is just your purpose. That's all it is. It's detaching yourself from your limiting beliefs and tapping into untapped energy that will create miracles in your life.
I had a comment or a statement about something you said, and then you said something else. That was just a heavy statement that you just said. So because I thought I was going to say something about it, and then you said something more important that made me forget both of them. That's old. That's old age, bro.
No, that's actually it's see what it is. It's limitation of from your previous beliefs. This is what comes in and shatters that. It's because you don't have the capacity to receive it. Like I know we had a fascinating conversation the day before yesterday, and it's interesting. Most people, when I do interviews, are shocked. I mean, you're not. You're integrated into the conversation at a much higher level than anyone else I speak with.
Oh, really?
Oh yes. Oh yes. Yeah. Yeah. You have a tremendous. You have more wisdom in this area than you allow yourself, because I think that you like to hang out a little bit more on the scholarly side rather than the metaphysical side.
I have a tendency to do that, but my preference is to hang out in the metaphysical side.
And it's a
That's my
scholarly
preference.
side that's holding you back, right? Because you're looking for balance or truth or previous teachings, but you don't need that when you understand vibration. Okay.
Okay,
Like,
as I've been, you can tell I've been fighting this all along,
yeah,
but we do have to talk about vibrations.
right, right,
Now remember my audience, this is new news for them. So remember, you're talking to a bunch of virgins.
right.
So
Well, let's
so
just start with our vibration.
okay, perfect.
We click.
Correct.
You trust me.
Yes,
You can feel me,
I can.
and I feel you,
Interesting.
and the energy's there. And it's a loving, mutual respect.
Right.
You're cool. I'm cool. Everything's cool. Right?
Sure.
That's vibration. We haven't talked a moment about who went to school where or what degrees we have or none of that. We're connecting energetically.
Yeah, because I don't care about that.
Right. Right. Because that's not real. This is
Yeah.
real.
Yeah.
You and I are actually like brothers.
How so? Just in our ability to connect and
Mhm.
our desire
We've
for.
instantly connected. We'll be friends for life.
Yeah, no wonder I'm calling you. And isn't it interesting? I don't always, I use the word bro a lot, but when I talk to you, but when I go bro, or man, I'm really meaning it.
There's
I
more
really,
depth to it. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
there is
Yeah.
something to that, that,
I mean,
there
I could
is
call you anytime and you'd welcome, like, oh, yeah, let's have a conversation.
absolutely, absolutely.
Right. I mean, see, so there's your vibration.
Is it attractive? I want to know what it's like to the
Always
outsider.
like attracts like. Everything's energetic. This is why people get divorced. Because when they get together, there's an energy there. The problem with it is there's an intellectual assessment of the energy. And as they continue on and the energy wanes and they start to get back to real life, they're into the intellectual differences and they aren't allowing just their hearts to connect for the main reason they came together to begin with. And when you do that, then you can accept the other person for who they are. You can help them in their growth. You can help the other person in their growth. You don't need to control them. You're working together. You're melding together. You know this. You've told me about your relationship with your wife. This is the way it's like. But with other people, it just, it's intellectual conflict because because they're afraid of the intimacy, because intimacy is energetic.
Why would they be afraid? What is there to fear?
People are, well, it's like Marianne Williamson's missive. Our deepest fear isn't that our deepest fear. How's it go? I can't even think of it right now, but it's that we're powerful beyond measure. That's our deepest fear. Believe me, people are, it's like me, everything I've been through, very afraid of my power, my wisdom. Who am I to know this? Well, who am I not to? Because I know it and I've been speaking it. And the more I speak it, the higher I go. And the higher I go, the more people want to hear. Right? So it has nothing to do. The people that are afraid of me are the intellectual people because they want proof.
Because you don't pass the intellectual test because you're not trying to.
Well,
there's no intent to.
There is no intellectual test on the other side.
What's that?
There is no intellectual test on the other side. There's just truth.
Yes, exactly.
Right.
There is no measurement.
Measurement is what is the number one destroyer in physical life. Measurement, the other word for measurement is judgment.
Yeah, and it's funny. I just wrote a blog last Saturday. It was published on Sunday. Judgment brings separation.
Yeah.
And that judgment separates us from people, separates us from truth, separates us from life. Judgment is in a whole category by itself.
It doesn't bring separation. It is separation.
It is. Well, that's interesting. Judgment is, yes, you must separate to judge.
Right.
If you're non-judgmental,
do you see the truth in that vibration?
Yeah, there is truth in that. Now, so there's a vibration.
See, that's clarity. That's clarity. Judgment doesn't bring separation. It is separation.
Ooh. Well, so I mean, really, I didn't put, the title of the article is "With Judgment Comes Separation." So. So it is, but I really had not.
For the layman, that's a good way to say it, because it's the way I speak. I really have learned to dummy things down, to give people
Thank God.
The ability. It's like there's two emotions. That's it. And if you follow them, there's a very consistent guidepost with those emotions. There's love and there's fear. Love comes from your heart, comes from the non-physical. Your heart cannot create fear. It can feel it, but it can't create it. Only your head.
That's worthy of pondering. Wait a minute here. That is very, very interesting. You say some pretty heavy things here, and you say them pretty quickly, like we're just supposed to go. Wait a minute.
They're really simple truths. Yeah.
Love can experience love.
Your heart. Your heart can feel
your heart
fear.
Can experience it, but it can't
create it.
That is, that's worth a moment of pondering. I'm a ponderer. I have to ponder things. I will, I'll have moments of silence.
to create fear, you must go to the past or the future, but there's no such thing as a future because your future is only your past thrown out in front of you. So you, 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 you cannot create fear in the present moment. It isn't possible. It's not possible.
So what then, if it's not
fear
not
knocked
coming,
on the door and love answered, but no one was there. They can't coexist.
so what if I knock on the door
Mm-hmm.
and love answers, but love exists? What does that look like?
What does it look like? You tell me.
Oh, okay. I get it.
I don't
I
know.
get it.
You're the one with the fear.
That is funny. You know what word comes to my mind first of all? The very first word that just came to mind, I mean, like that, just came to mind, was acceptance.
Yeah.
You know what my two greatest fears are?
What?
Abandonment and rejection.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So where does acceptance fall in that? It is the opposite. It is the.
That's correct. That's correct.
It is the answer to abandonment and rejection.
Yeah. You want to hear something? This is trippy. You want to hear something that's trippy?
Yeah, I'd love to hear something trippy.
Okay.
Do I need to take a drug or anything for it?
You might after. Forgiveness. Forgiveness is just total bullshit.
But you just like throwing shit in people's face, huh?
Yeah.
Okay, forgiveness is bullshit. You're gonna have to
It's
go
a
out
con.
with that.
It's a con term that religion has come up with, right? When you forgive, you wave a wand and it's happened. What happens? Forgiveness is acceptance with unconditional love.
Right. I got
When you have acceptance with unconditional love, there's no need for forgiveness. There is no forgiveness. You're in pure love.
Oh man, look at you. You know, it's not fair having this conversation on a podcast because I can't just say, okay, give me 5 minutes. I need to
I told
ponder
you we're going to talk again.
Well, I'm just thinking for the audience sake, if I do that,
Yeah.
you can't have silence on radio, on air, on podcasts. You can't have 5 minutes of silence.
And I apologize because when we talked the other day, we went down the rabbit hole and you said, oh, wait, we can't do this in the interview because my audience will follow like where you are, it's too deep. And I said, well, you started it. That's how we got there.
Started it.
And we've kind of gone there, but it's, it's just simple. There's just fear and love. Everything else in the physical, the only thing you can get if you look at it honestly, in your physical life is hard work, lack of clarity, and suffering. That's it. If you want to transcend that, one must bring the non-physical into it. Without,
okay, give me definition of physical and non-physical. I know one is vibration. What is the physical? Because I don't see you view the physical.
Physical is your physical reality.
But that is good. My physical reality is good. I like my physical reality.
You like your energy. See, but you're doing it energetically.
I like my physicality.
Is controlled by your energy.
But it feeds my energy. And
no, it's just the opposite. It's just the opposite.
No. Physicality. If I'm in my space, as opposed to being in a space that I'm not comfortable with, I have a whole different energy.
Give an example of that. Let's ground this.
Okay, if I'm in my reading room, sitting on my chair, pondering
Right.
or reading,
Right.
I'm in another world. I'm in
You're in
a
the
happy world.
non-physical. You're
What's
in the
that?
you're in the
Yes, but the
non-physical.
physical brought that about. Being able to be in this room that is accepting, has
It's a
icons, has
choice
things that I
though,
want.
but let's be honest about it, because the choice to be there is to fulfill the non-physical. There's nothing that you're doing in the physical world with what you're doing in your room. Your whole purpose for being there is to fulfill your non-physical appetite.
Agreed. But
Right?
being there,
Consequently, where you're in a different space, that's a reading room, and people are there reading and
well,
talking
you
about.
just screwed it up right away when you said people are there.
Well, this is, see, there now you're in the physical.
Yeah.
You see the difference?
That's what I'm trying to
You're
say. One brings about the energy. It contributes to the energy. If I'm in the right space,
one is a choice to participate in the energy. The other is a choice to participate in the physical. Because you're stepping in with other people, there's other things going on, you're in the physical world. It's like going, if you go to a monastery, you physically are going to the monastery to meditate. You've got to get there. But you're going there to satisfy your inner desire to expand your inner consciousness.
Absolutely.
Your inner,
and I do go to a monastery monthly.
Your inner wisdom. Do you see the difference? We are on earth, okay? So everything that I work with people and teach people, it's how to take the energy you're in at the monastery or in your room and bring it into those physical environments that are disturbing for you. You can still do that. You can rise above those other things. There's environments you don't want to be in. There's environments that are chaotic, and it's just you avoid them. But it's understanding that difference. You see, you're again from the scholarly position going from the physical backwards to the non-physical. But that's not how you got here. You got here energetically. And when you leave, the energy's leaving and the physical's staying.
I totally agree.
Right.
I have no issue with that.
It's separating the two. And what you're after when you go to your reading room is the integration of it. And frankly, you're using it more as your escape, which has now taken you to higher levels of wisdom. Okay? I wouldn't do that for an escape. I would do that for expansion. I would do it for just because I'm always coming from the non-physical side. Always from the non-physical side. Not the physical. Because the minute it's after the physical, I did that. I was tremendously successful when I was young, and I was miserable.
Yeah, I get what you're saying when you're talking about the physical is limited. It absolutely is. The non-physical is unlimited.
Extreme limitation, yeah.
Yeah. It's restrained, and it's also restraining. It's not also limited in itself. It limits. Mm-hmm. It limits. However, I still can't get off the fact that it can serve the non-physical.
I don't
know about the fact, my position, my feeling about this
I understand.
Is that it's a servant.
I understand how you're saying it. I don't have a problem with what you're saying. Okay? But it can't take you there.
No, it can't take you there.
That's why what you're saying is not accurate.
But it removes a bunch of crap that would get in the way me getting there.
You make choices to physically get yourself in a place of isolation.
Yes.
And it's in that isolation that you know that you can then expand your wisdom.
Yes.
Right. So,
yes.
but and that's the whole premise of this, okay? Is look, we're on Earth. We aren't perfect. We aren't going to evolve. So my whole thing is, how do you bring more of that into the physicality of life? And you do that through energy and transcension. And the more you understand it, then the more, I can go in and take over a room energetically without speaking. And people just like, I just need to meet you. What, or they just say crazy things. But what happens is they're actually, the world's a mirror, and what they're doing is connecting with my energy. They're connecting where before I was Mr. Outgoing. Hey, hi, I got to meet you. And, it's all about taking and let me see what I can get out of this. And now it's just about being and being of service. It's a much more.
I live for that. I mean, you just put one of my three top values is servants, is to be of service.
This is ultimately, we are here to be of service from a place of love for all involved, regardless of the outcome.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We have no control of the outcome. And it's really not that it's unimportant. It is important, but it's not important to me. It's important to the person.
It's important to people that are attached with expectations, right? For the rest of us, it's just shit that happens. It just stuff happens. That's it.
So let's do this. Let's take a little bit different tack on our journey here.
Okay.
I want to know in English how you can in common man speak, in hobbit speak, how do you take someone when they come and they say, okay, you talk about purpose, you write about purpose, your desire is for me to understand my purpose. How do you take somebody through that process of understanding their purpose?
I do it. There are guideposts. There are energetic guideposts that I have learned. There's wisdom that I've learned, and it deals around the energy that flows through our chakras.
Okay.
We have 7 chakras. We have 7 energies, and we have
so
7
divine. 7 receptors as well.
Yes. And we have 7 divine gifts that are associated with each of the chakras, starting at the root to the crown. And at the root, it starts with divine compassion, then divine creation, divine order, divine healing, divine authentic self-expression, divine truth, and divine power. And we all have...
Those are the chakras. I've never heard them in that language. I love that.
Those are the energies that flow through the chakras.
Okay.
And this is what makes up your this is what makes up your divinity. This is what makes up your genius, are those energies. Everybody has the same energies, but we have them in different proportions.
Right.
And what happens is when we're born, Charlie's born, and Charlie just sees life and does life. And it's, Charlie thinks what he sees is what everybody else sees for quite a while. That's the way we've all thought. When in fact...
You mean that's not true?
Well, not totally.
I'm only joking. I'm joking.
Yeah.
I'm messing with you.
And we all have life lessons. There's 38 different life lessons paths with billions of different combinations. But the biggest ones are the energies. So I'm able, through a meditation, to measure people's energies and find out which are their strongest. And typically there's 3 of the 3 energies in the chakras that are the strongest. And they'll make up about 75% of a person's
And you're
energy.
going to tell us
Although
what those are, right?
I just did. It's the divine compassion, divine order, and all those others.
But what are
See,
the three? What are the three most?
well, it's different for everybody.
Oh,
So
each of us have three of the
3 out of the 7 that
out
are
of
going to
the
be
7.
predominant. That are going to be predominant. And so what I do is do a meditation on that and find out what those 3 are for a person.
You meditate on it, or you help them
Yeah, I
meditate
do.
on it as well?
I do. And then I come back and tell them. But I don't tell them what they are. What I tell them is what the dysfunctions are with it. Because when you don't understand them, then you're always participating with those penalties. You don't see these things necessarily as penalties in your life. You just see them as part of your life. But this is what confirms it. And they go, yeah, it's absolutely, and
So you'll tell them there's 75% makeup by means of
the dysfunctions, the
the
penalties that show
dysfunction.
up.
Give me an example.
A person with divine order,
Okay.
which is one of the energies,
Okay.
hates conflict. They will run from conflict. They hate it if somebody's upset with them. Now, the reason they do is because logically it doesn't make sense to have somebody upset with them. They haven't done it right. But that's not the truth. The real reason it's true is because they breathe harmony and balance. Their life is just what they breathe and who they are. And anytime there's an energy that's disruptive to them, it cracks up their whole energy to the point that they fall apart energetically. And you see it time and time again. So a person with divine order, you've seen them. They're always put together, dressed perfectly. Their house is perfect, or it's a mess. It's one or the other. I mean, it's these things
Usually
just go.
it's both.
It could be, but it goes. And in their case, when they learn this, then you can see in their life where they're constantly having these conflicts come in because it's part of their lessons that they're here to learn. And I teach them how to step forward with it, with their harmony and balance, and take over the energy. And it transcends the entire situation. Like I have a woman that works for me she has tremendous divine order, and she does taxes.
Okay.
She was a mess when she came to me. She was a mess. I hate it. People sit down. I've got to tell them how much they owe. I said, oh, we'll cure that. Now, she says, you're so lucky. Here's what you owe. It sounds like a lot, but look at what you've made. And she lets them bask in her harmony, her balance. They feel safe. They just love her. They pay their taxes. Everybody's happy. It's completely transcended her whole tax practice. They just want to sit there. They just feel so safe when they sit with her now. She now knows who she is and energetically moves with it. Where before, every time clients came in, she was a mess because they were going to be upset with her because she's
And with her, be like she's the problem.
Well, she's the one giving them the news about what they owe.
So they're upset with her like she's the problem.
Well, but she's also creating the energy that is a problem because she's afraid of how they're going to respond because it's disturbing.
Oh.
It's so disturbing to her energy that the energy field they're sitting in is terrible to begin with.
That's interesting. I was just...
You're getting it now. See, you're seeing how this energy makes it.
I was just telling this story. I think I told it on a podcast, so I don't want to go deeply into it. But I was with a man who, and I was in Scottsdale, and he's assistant to my son. My son is a professional baseball player, and has 2 assistants that live with him. And I was talking to one of them, and usually, they treat me as a father figure. It certainly is an elder, and they call themselves when they come over for Thanksgiving, they'll cook Thanksgiving, and they talk about your boys are here, with my son, and I've been sort of treating them as, just sort of equal talking. And the last time I was there, I decided to try something different. Decided to try just listening without saying anything and just listening. And I want to tell you, Bill, there was one of them. I had to come back from the field in the middle of before game time, and I had an hour to kill, and I was at the house, and it was just one of them, and it was just an act of listening. And this kid, in my act of only listening and not trying to tell and not trying to evaluate and not trying to give advice, sapiential advice, just listening, we got deeper than we've ever gotten. And he was revealing to me things that he's longed deeply to talk about his childhood. And he's longed to talk to somebody else about them. And I don't even know that
that's the need. Now, and when you're the other way, he would be outspoken with you because he wouldn't be feeling heard.
Oh, he would never get into what he got into. First of all, he would never go there.
But his conversations would be more loud, gregarious, and blocking. It would be just the opposite energetically.
Yeah, and I was able to contribute an energy of love and of interest, of non-judgmental caring. And it was not, I didn't have to say anything. It was energetic. It was an energy that I was putting forth in that room with the two of us sitting at the table, chatting deeply. And it was mostly him chatting. And, I'd ask a couple questions, but I did very few comments. But
you created a safe energetic field.
Yeah.
And and somebody like him, that gift that he was using is called authentic self-expression. And people with authentic self-expression never feel heard. They never get to really speak how they feel.
Why is that?
Well, it's part of the conflict. It's part of the penalties with the energy when you don't understand the energy. They aren't heard, or they're just speaking up and saying shit inappropriately just to be heard, or they'll keep repeating it.
Yeah, right. Just to be heard.
Yeah, just to be heard.
Just to
But
sort of
that's the
say my
energy.
presence
See,
is
it's the
important.
energy that's driving that. They're out of control. And we all go through this. We all experience that.
And
that's one of my gifts.
I'm getting this more. I'm loving this more and more.
Like this authentic self-expression is my primary gift. And I give people light bulb moments. I take the complex and make it simple.
Right.
And it allows people to have light bulb moments that change their lives. And I don't need degrees and scholarships behind me. I just need to speak from my heart at a level that people understand, connecting with when I understand and I see what their energy is. And it creates how do you feel right now about our connection?
You're asking me, or that's just what?
Yeah, I'm asking.
Oh, how do I feel? Well, that's difficult. I feel very interested, but that's also difficult because I'm hosting a show, so I'm feeling responsible also to make sure that the show is, doing.
Yeah, but
being
you
the
lost
director.
control of the show a long time ago when I started talking because I started taking.
I started taking you. It was always in the back
I
of my
understand,
mind, bro. It's always
but
there.
you feel safe. You're trusting.
Oh, yeah, hell yes.
You feel connected.
But I feel pretty safe in most situations. It's very rare for me not to feel safe because most of the time I just don't care enough to be unsafe.
Right.
I don't care what they think. If they don't, if the other
Doesn't
person,
matter. I agree with you.
yeah.
You take care
So
of
what?
you. Yeah.
Join the line of people
Hmm.
that you know disagree with me or are not interested in what I have to say. There's plenty, but I don't care.
Hmm.
It's they call it in mysticism. It's called apatheia, and
Hmm.
it's about not caring, but it's just not caring, but not caring about things that aren't important enough to care about.
Hmm.
So that means we doesn't mean we don't care about anything. We do care, but we
Hmm.
don't care about things that are unimportant
Right.
or are not valuable for us.
Hmm. Hmm. It's okay for the other person to be that. That's their choice. That's where they are on their path.
But it's karmic. It
Oh
is
yeah.
a karma, and I think we talked before. I believe a karma is not an act, but it's a way of being.
Right.
And
Karma's all karma's
kindness
all
is really
energy.
important to me, and it's not about acts of kindness as just
Mm-mm.
being a state of that there is a state
Being.
of
It's a state of
gentleness and
being.
acceptance,
Yeah.
a state of safety. You're not gonna get judged. First of all, because I don't believe in judgment, and second of all, because I hate to tell you this, but you don't count enough for me to care that much. I care in love. I care about when you start getting truthful, then we're in a whole different dimension.
Right.
When you start getting honest and vulnerable, then I care tremendously.
Hmm. But the majority of the people see vulnerability as weakness.
Really,
Ra- yes, rather than connection. Yes,
it's essential.
because well, but they can't go there because they've just been in that state of protection.
Hmm.
That's what our mind and fear does. Our ego and our mind only puts us in a state of protection. That's all it can do is protect us. That's what fear does. When you come from love, when you come from the non-physical, then it's just okay to be. And and even the person who's stuck in that place, I still love. They're still fine. I'm just not, I'm not going to hang around them. It's like, but it's cool. They can do their thing. They aren't, what they're doing isn't wrong. In my world, there's no right or wrong. And you can just, you just have the opportunity to operate at a higher vibration. And then when you take that vibration, you can take that and step into any religion and you'd be performing at the highest levels of any religion because it's absent of all the doctrine. It's just a matter of coming from a place of love.
That's what the mystics are all about. It's not
Yeah.
about doctrine.
No.
It's not at all about, this is not talking the 14 and 1500s, Teresa of Avila
Right.
and John of the Cross. And,
It's all.
and they were not about doctrine. As a matter of fact, they didn't know enough about doctrine to even be involved in it. They were involved in love and in intimacy. See, their key goal is intimate with the divine. That there is, of course, as a religious sort of order, there
Mm-hmm.
there is a divinity, and it's being, but when you say it's not just an essence, it is love. That this divinity is
Right.
love.
Right.
Um, I did a whole treatise on the Trinity, and all the Trinity is love upon love upon love.
Right.
It is the creation. It is the
Mm-hmm.
creator creating love within a family of three
Mm-hmm.
that then expands.
Mm-hmm. And my genius, my gift is showing people how to comfortably express that love
Mm.
in what's understood as a non-loving world. And they're shocked at how it's accepted because of their understanding of it when we start talking. But as one experiences it, I just get to be me wherever I am. I never change. And it's always accepted. There's people that don't agree with it. There's people that are afraid of the non-physical. They hear metaphysics and, oh, you're woo-woo. And it's like, yeah, but when you breathe, it's woo-woo. I mean, come on. You're pulling in air, running everything. If you're not pulling it in, you're not here. And
that's interesting because I find, like you, I'm generally accepted. And that is because I think I just have this openness,
right,
to where people are, that
you feel safe.
Do it? Is that it?
Yeah.
Yeah. See, I can't tell you that. It takes someone else.
Well, you're non-confrontational. You're non-confrontational, and
look, that's a great insight. Not many people catch that. Because there's plenty of things you say that could be confronted, and I just say, nah, just where's that going to go? That's going to go down a negative rabbit hole. That's not going to take us anywhere interesting or positive or helpful. So let's go with the conversation as it is and take this point of view and discover. It's like where on the podcast, early on in the podcast, I did shows with atheists. And people would think because I went to a Baptist seminary. I mean, so, I went to a pretty conservative. Wow. Yeah. I say I went to the seminary with a redundant name, Western Conservative Baptist. Like, what is it going to be? Western Liberal Baptist? No, it's just, of course it's going to be Western Conservative Baptist. But, I hate to admit this, but I lost track of what I'm saying. Like there's nothing to continue. I'm done.
We were talking about being non-confrontational.
Oh, well, whatever the hell.
Yeah.
Look,
you create an energetic field that makes it safe. It isn't being done. You're not doing it intellectually.
And it makes it safe,
warmth.
but it makes it fun. It makes it enjoyable. It makes it
But you create
pleasant.
that energy.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's intentional energy.
It is very intentional. It's very intentional.
Yeah.
Although many times it's not consciously intentional. I don't walk in with a conscious, I'm going to do that. That is just my attitude. That is my way of being, my state of being.
It's what you breathe.
It is.
That's the way I like to state it.
Yes.
It's what you breathe.
What you breathe is who you are.
And when you understand your genius, you breathe your genius.
Okay, I want to close right there because we're approaching an hour, and we could go for another hour. But that's funny because that leads right into the episode that's going to follow this one, because later on today, I'm talking with the Genius Lab person, the everyday genius, and so we will follow up this conversation with a talk on genius. This has been brilliant. You are so fun. This is a blast.
I appreciate having the opportunity to converse with you about it.
Thank you.
I hope your audience gets something from it. It's a wonderful way to live.
I never do shows wondering what the audience will think. I mean, rarely. Most of the time, it's just, this is fun to me, and I figure if it's fun to me, it's going to be fun to somebody else. It will be interesting to somebody else, and we've done okay. Okay, bro. Bill Heinrich, you're very fun. You're very cool.
Likewise, Charlie Hedges,
Thanks,
you're cool and fun.
Okay.
Bro.
that's the Charlie Hedges speech, bro.
Yeah. You called me bro right from the get-go.
I did.
Yeah.
Did you notice? Did you feel it?
Oh, totally.
That's cool.
Yeah, I just melded with it.
Okay, let's wrap her up, and let's tell everybody I want to thank all our listeners for tuning into the next chapter with Charlie. And until next, this is Charlie Hedges signing off. Bye for now.